Chances are someone you know is a homosexual, even though you may not be aware of it. It's conservatively estimated that out of every 20 women, one is a lesbian. There are even more male homosexuals, 1 out of every 10. Doctors don't really seem to know what causes homosexuality, though most agree that once sexual preference is set, usually by the mid-teens, little can be done to reverse it. April magazine has found out that mom and dad are often the last ones to know if their son or daughter is gay. Imagine yourselves the parents of a college boy who grew up in a small town on the coast of Maine. You receive the following letter from your son.
Mom and Dad, this is difficult for me to say, and I am sorry that I am doing it in a letter, but it is much easier for me. I am a homosexual. I am sure that you have had doubts in the past, but hoped that they were not true. You may be repulsed, sickened, or just sad. There is nothing that we can do. It is nobody's fault. Believe me, I am not a homosexual by choice. Life would be much simpler for me without it. I have gone through hell for the past 10 years. I have always known about my sexuality, but could never tell anyone. Now I have told you both. Take care, Steve.
It was 4 years ago that Steve Bull wrote that letter, while a student at the University of Maine. The youngest of 3 children, Steve was the type of son any parent could be proud of. Smart, athletic, popular, scholarships to prep school and college. Definitely the most likely to succeed sort of boy. But Steve was aware of something which set him apart from his friends, something he couldn't share with his parents. What was the point at which you began to feel that you were, quote, different from the expectation that was made for a young man in Kennebunkport, Maine?
Well, there were a series of crushes I had on boys, and there was some sexual activity with boys from when I was 7 to 14, and there were a growing awareness that that I definitely did prefer that I really preferred men sexually.
Did it scare you?
It scared me in that I had to hide it. I thought about it every day. It was a really big part of my life. It seems like every day something happened that said, oh, you're different from these other people.
Every day you thought about it, every day.
Something always came up. If it was someone calling someone else a sissy, or a fag joke, or something written in the locker room, or just wrestling with boys when it got to a point where I was aware that, oh my goodness, I better stop.
Weren't you tempted to talk to your parents about it?
No. No, the closet is a very very safe place, and the door is pretty much nailed most of the time. I mean, I saw my parents saying things. I saw and heard my parents talking about gay people, warning me not to get into cars with strangers, and why, and that homosexuals were older men that were around school in the bushes that, waited for me to come out of the schoolyard and to lure me into the bushes. I mean, I was subject to the same stereotypes. And I wasn't about to say, well, I'm one of them too.
Naturally, we were shocked.
Floyd Bull is a traveling salesman for a large chemical corporation.
After we'd read the letter and then reread it and discussed it in detail, we sent him a telegram telling him that we loved him. We wanted him to come to Kennebunk and meet us that weekend. And we spent, I think, 3 days, didn't we, Lynn?
Yes.
3 days discussing our lives and our background, his background and his childhood, and discuss any facet might have contributed to it. I'm telling you, we covered 22 years in 3 days.
And I just felt a surge of feeling for them. And although they had a lot of hesitations, a lot of doubts, I just felt like all of a sudden I could let this whole bundle out on them.
Dr. Judd Marmer is past president of the American Psychiatric Association. When a child comes to a parent and says, "Mom, Dad, I'm gay," what's the first question that a parent ought to ask himself?
I think the one thing that is most traumatic in this kind of situation is the tendency of parents to reject such children and to get very angry at them, or to feel guilty, as though, oh my God, I must have done something wrong.
Well, didn't they?
It isn't that simple. It isn't that simple. For example, the usual stereotype is that homosexuals grow out of families where there's a dominating, seductive, over-involved mother and a distant or rejecting father. But the fact is that a lot of heterosexuals come from the same kind of family background. And it's also true that many homosexuals come from totally different family backgrounds. So the role of the parents is not that clear-cut. I think the healthy thing to do and the mature thing to do is to talk to the child. Say, why do you think so? What's it all about? Tell me what you feel. And establish a kind of open communication that allows the child to talk about his or her feelings without feeling an enormous sense of guilt about it. That takes an extraordinary parent, but I think it's worth shooting for.
We both, together, went to a psychiatrist, discussed this thoroughly with him. He indicated to us, after he had met our son, there's nothing wrong with your son. He's a normal boy.
Hot dog with everything on it and a Coke.
He looked at the window and he said, it's out there. He said, it's society that has this homophobia.
Hatred of homosexuals.
Right.
The homophobia of our culture is deeply set in the mores of our culture. We're brought up to feel that way. From early life, we hear jokes made about homosexuals, and they're nasty jokes, and terms such as faggots and queers emphasize that pejorative connotation. At the same time, I think the emergence of the gay liberation movement has probably made it easier for many homosexuals to find a subculture in which they can be comfortable.
I think the greatest emotion that we had was the society and how they would view Steve after he came out. He had been respected by so many people, and people that he had worked for, and teachers throughout his lifetime, and family, and we didn't want to see that destroyed.
Did you lose friends?
Well, I found out who my true friends were. People who normally were always asking questions about Steve and so on, just seemed to not ask anymore, you see. No, they accepted me, and they spoke to Steve, but there seemed to be no concern after that. There are no more questions now. They don't ask me about Steve. I feel this as a mother. You see, it hurts.
Her son continues to be the achiever he's always been, attending a Los Angeles law school which specializes in human rights. Steve shares expenses with 8 friends in a large old home, and he pays his own way by working at a copying service. You know, the greatest concern of a parent is that the child's happiness.
You'll never be happy as a lonely homosexual.
That's what everybody thinks. Are they wrong?
Oh, yes. I'm very happy.
Some homosexuals do have psychiatric problems, but the American Psychiatric Association says homosexuality in and of itself is not a mental disorder.
Often you find children who are not committed, who are just confused, and who would like to be, quote, straightened out if they can. And so such children, with the cooperation of their parents and with their own cooperation, can often be helped.
You know, there are some parents to whom homosexuality is a sin, that means that their child is going to burn in hell. What can a parent like that do?
What happens is that often the homosexual child simply rebels against them, leaves the house, has nothing to do with the family, and becomes totally alienated, and the child has lost a parent and the parent has lost a child to the detriment of both.
How to tell mom and dad may be the most difficult problem the homosexual faces. Steve was lucky. Parents commonly reject their children, sometimes to the point of disowning them. Steve's parents found comfort at Parents of Gays, a group organized to help mothers and fathers cope with their fears and anxieties.
And you had to run into that.
Recent research has demonstrated that if a homosexual comes out of a loving family with good role models, he's much more apt to be a mature and emotionally stable homosexual. Those are the individuals who are more likely never to seek psychiatric help or need it, who live in stable relationships with partners for many years and live very effective and well-adjusted lives.
Say you have more than one child in the family, you're going to begin to worry about your other children, wouldn't you?
Well, many parents might, but I would reassure them that unless the child has that propensity, it's not going to develop as a result of seeing a homosexual brother or sister.
Is there a family anywhere which can breathe a sigh of relief and sit back smugly and say, I don't have to worry about that. There's never going to be a homosexual in my family?
I don't think anybody can say that with absolute certainty.
If I could hand you a pill and say, here it is, Steve. You can be free from all the trial, all the pain, all the trouble.
All of my guts I put into this. I'm not going to give up. I mean, I've struggled. I've put a lot into this, and I'm not going to give it up that easily. I mean, I feel the pain and I feel the anxieties I've gone through, but I've made it through them, and I'm stronger because of it. When you're challenged constantly, you have to look at yourself. You have to be critical. You have to think, you know, what is this that I am? You really search out yourself. I mean, like, I did have a strong basis for coming out because I'd analyzed myself. I thought about what was happening to me every day of my life, and I don't want to throw away that whole long process that I went through, and I came to a conclusion that I'm living with very well and that I really enjoy, and that's me.
If you were asked to sum up your parents in one sentence, what would you say about them?
They care about people a whole lot, sometimes to their own detriment.
Why do you think they do it?
Well, they love me a lot.